My name is Nora, and this is how I turned the family that abandoned me on Thanksgiving into witnesses at their own reckoning. The conference room was silent, except for the sound of my heels clicking against the marble floor. 15 pairs of eyes watched me approach the head of the table. My mother's eyes wide with disbelief, my sister's face drained of color, my brother-in-law's jaw clenched so tight I thought his teeth might crack. I set my briefcase down with a soft thud that somehow echoed like thunder. "Thank you all for coming," I said, my voice steady despite the hurricane in my chest. "I believe we have some family business to discuss." Have you ever realized that the people who should love you most are the ones capable of the deepest cruelty? Let me back up. 6 months ago, I woke up on Thanksgiving morning to the kind of silence that feels wrong. You know that feeling, when your bones know something's off before your brain catches up. I'd stayed at my childhood home the night before, like I always did before the holiday. Mom insisted. "Family tradition," she'd say with that warm smile that used to make me feel safe. I padded downstairs in my pajamas, expecting the smell of coffee and the chaos of holiday prep. Instead, I found a note on the kitchen counter, propped against the fruit bowl I'd given Mom for her birthday. "Nora, something came up. We'll explain later. There's leftover casserole in the fridge." That was it. No signature, no explanation. Just 12 words that somehow managed to be both vague and brutally clear. I called Mom. Voicemail. I called my sister Jessica. Voicemail. My brother-in-law Kevin. Voicemail. My younger brother Marcus. You guessed it. Voicemail. For an hour, I sat at that kitchen table, that stupid note in my hands, trying to understand what emergency could require my entire family to vanish on Thanksgiving morning. A death, an accident? But wouldn't someone have woken me? Wouldn't someone have brought me along? Then I made the mistake of opening Instagram. Jessica had posted a photo 2 hours earlier. The whole family, Mom, Dad, Jessica, Kevin, Marcus, and even Aunt Linda, raising champagne glasses on what was clearly a private jet. The caption, "Spontaneous Thanksgiving in Turks and Caicos. Sometimes the best memories are unplanned. Blessed our family first to living our best life." I stared at that screen until the words stopped making sense. Then I stared some more. They hadn't forgotten me. They hadn't left me behind by accident. They had actively chosen to leave me sleeping in that house while they flew to the Caribbean for a luxury Thanksgiving vacation. Someone had walked past my bedroom door that morning. Someone had probably checked to make sure I was still asleep. Someone had made sure I wouldn't wake up and ask questions. I want to tell you I cried. I want to tell you I threw things or screamed or did something dramatic. But I didn't. I just sat there, numb, while my coffee went cold and the morning light crept across the floor like it was any other day. The messages started coming in around noon. Friends, cousins, acquaintances, people who'd seen the posts, people who knew I should have been there. "Having fun in Turks? So jealous. Wow, your family really knows how to celebrate. Why didn't you go with them?" That last one, from my college roommate, was the one that broke something inside me. Because I didn't have an answer. I genuinely didn't know why they'd left me behind. It took 3 days for anyone to call me. 3 days of radio silence while they posted photos of turquoise water and sunset dinners and family bonding. When Mom finally called, her voice was casual, almost breezy. "Nora, honey, we're back. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?" I remember gripping my phone so hard my hand ached. "You left me." "Oh, sweetie, don't be dramatic. Kevin got an amazing last-minute deal on a property he's been eyeing down there. We all had to go see it right away. You know how real estate is. It was just business." On Thanksgiving morning without telling me. "You've been so busy with work lately. We didn't want to burden you." Her tone shifted, taking on that edge of irritation I knew so well. "Besides, you would have just complained the whole time about missing work or needing to prepare for some meeting. We did you a favor, really." That's when I started to understand. This wasn't an oversight or a miscommunication. This was a statement. This was them telling me exactly where I stood in the family hierarchy. But I still didn't understand why. Over the next few weeks, I pieced it together through overheard conversations, through things left unsaid, through the way they talked around me instead of to me at the small family dinner. Mom insisted on having to make up for Thanksgiving. My crime, as far as I could tell, was success. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. I'd worked my way through school, spent 5 years climbing the ladder at a corporate law firm, and had recently made junior partner. I'd bought my own condo, paid off my student loans, and started actually building wealth. I didn't need to borrow money. I didn't need to ask Dad for career advice. I didn't need them to fix my problems. And apparently, that was unforgivable. Jessica, my older sister by 3 years, had married Kevin right out of high school. He sold insurance and she managed their rental properties, two houses their dad had helped them buy. They did fine, comfortable, but every family dinner involved them complaining about money, about tenants, about how hard everything was. And every family dinner, Mom and Dad would help. A check here, a connection there, endless emotional support. Marcus, the baby, was 26 and still finding himself, which meant living in Mom and Dad's basement and going through a new business idea every 6 months. His current venture was drop shipping protein powder. Before that, it was cryptocurrency day trading. Before that, NFT art. Mom called him entrepreneurial. I called him unemployed, but only in my head. I was supposed to be the responsible one, the dependable one, the one who had her shit together so everyone else could fall apart without consequence. But I wasn't supposed to be successful enough that it made them uncomfortable. I wasn't supposed to out-earn Dad. I wasn't supposed to buy a nicer car than Jessica's. I wasn't supposed to do any of this without their help, without owing them, without needing them. My independence had become an insult to their identity. The Turks and Caicos trip, I later learned, had cost about $30,000. Kevin had used money from selling one of their rental properties, the one Dad had co-signed for. It wasn't a business trip. It was never a business trip. It was a family vacation they'd been planning for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of group chats I wasn't included in, of planning sessions that happened when I was at work, of deliberate exclusion dressed up as spontaneity. And when I confronted Jessica about it, when I finally got her alone at Mom's house and asked her directly why they'd left me behind, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because you make everyone feel like shit about themselves, Nora. You walk around with your fancy job and your expensive clothes, and you make Mom feel like she wasted her life being a homemaker. You make Kevin feel like a failure. You make Marcus feel like a loser. We wanted one vacation where we could just be a family without you judging us." I hadn't said a word about her life. I hadn't judged anyone. But my existence, my success, was apparently judgment enough. I wish I could say I walked away with my head held high. But the truth is, I went home and cried for hours. I cried for the family I thought I had. I cried for the little girl who'd believed that working hard and doing well would make her parents proud. I cried because I'd spent years trying to be good enough, and it turned out I'd become too much instead. Then I got angry. Then I got curious. I started digging into Kevin's real estate deals because something about that explanation never sat right. A last-minute business trip requiring the entire family to look at a property that he then bought with rental property money? None of it made sense. It took me 2 weeks to find the property records. Kevin hadn't bought anything in Turks and Caicos. The trip was pure vacation. But more interesting than the lie was what else I found. Kevin and Jessica's rental properties were underwater. They owed more than the properties were worth. Maintenance costs were killing them, and they'd been systematically missing mortgage payments. More digging revealed that Dad had been bailing them out, repeatedly, to the tune of about $80,000 over the past 3 years. money that came from my parents' retirement fund, money that Dad had pulled out, early, paying penalties and taxes, slowly draining the security my mother thought she had. Mom didn't know. Dad had hidden it from her. And Kevin and Jessica? They'd been treating Dad like a personal ATM while posting on social media about their investment success and building generational wealth. I sat with this information for days. The lawyer in me knew this was a family matter, that I should approach it carefully, that there were probably explanations and complications I didn't understand. But the daughter who'd been left behind on Thanksgiving, she wanted justice. I started with Marcus. I took him to coffee, paid for his vanilla latte with extra caramel because of course, and asked him about his business ventures. I didn't judge. I didn't criticize. I just listened while he talked about his dreams and his plans, and how hard it was to get started when you didn't have capital. Marcus, I said carefully, do you know where Mom and Dad's retirement money is? He blinked at me. What do you mean? It's in their retirement account, right? Have you looked at the account recently? Why would I? That's their business. I pulled out my phone and showed him the property records, the mortgage documents, the timeline of Dad's withdrawals. I watched his face change as he understood. Dad's been giving money to Jessica and Kevin? About $80,000. And Mom doesn't know? I don't think so. His jaw tightened. Marcus might have been aimless, but he wasn't stupid, and he wasn't cruel. He'd been living at home to save money, to avoid being a burden, to figure himself out without asking for help. Meanwhile, his older sister had been bleeding their parents dry. What are you going to do? He asked. I'm going to fix it, I said, but I need you to trust me. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge. It's not about punishment. It's about restoration. It's about taking back what was stolen and making sure it can't be stolen again. I spent the next 3 months building my case like I would for any client. I gathered every document, every text message, every social media post. I interviewed contractors who'd worked on Jessica's properties and confirmed that the renovations they'd posted about had never happened. I tracked down tenants who'd left because of maintenance issues and safety violations. I found building code violations and unpaid property taxes. Kevin and Jessica weren't just bad at real estate investment, they were breaking the law. Small-scale, stupid violations that would normally just result in fines, but violations nonetheless. I also hired a forensic accountant to analyze Dad's finances. It was worse than I thought. Between the early retirement withdrawals and the money he'd been funneling to Jessica, my parents were on track to run out of money in about 7 years. Dad would be 73, Mom would be 70, and they'd have nothing. But the accountant found something else. Dad had taken out a home equity line of credit against their house, another $50,000, all of it going to Kevin's investments. My parents' house, the house I grew up in, the house that was supposed to be their security, was at risk. I wanted to go to Mom immediately. I wanted to burn it all down, but I knew that wouldn't work. Dad would deny it, Jessica would play victim, Kevin would have excuses, and I'd be the troublemaker tearing the family apart. So I waited. I waited until Christmas, until the next big family gathering, until everyone was together and comfortable and unsuspecting. I waited until Jessica posted another Instagram photo of her successful real estate portfolio with the caption, "Building wealth one property at a time, at our boss babe." Investment queen. Financial freedom. While literally leeching money from our retired parents. I waited until I had everything I needed. Then, I invited everyone to a family meeting. Important financial planning discussion, I said. Something everyone needed to hear. Professional advice I wanted to share about retirement and estate planning. Mom was thrilled. You see, she told Dad, this is what Nora does. She takes care of the family. That almost broke my resolve. Almost. They came to the conference room at my law firm on a Tuesday afternoon. I told them I could book us a private space, that we'd be more comfortable there than crowding into someone's living room. The truth is, I wanted them on my turf, in a space that made it clear this wasn't a casual conversation. I wanted them to understand that what was about to happen was serious. That brings us back to where we started. Me standing at the head of that conference table, watching my family's faces as they started to realize this wasn't going to be what they expected. I opened my briefcase and pulled out a stack of folders. I placed one in front of each person. "Before we begin," I said, "I want to make something clear. Everything I'm about to show you is true, documented, and verifiable. I've spent 3 months gathering this information, and I've had it independently verified by professionals." "Nora, what is this?" Mom's voice was uncertain. "This is the truth about our family's finances. Something I think you deserve to know." I opened the first folder in front of Mom and Dad. Property records, mortgage documents, bank statements showing the withdrawals from their retirement account. Over the past 3 years, Dad has given Jessica and Kevin $80,000 from your retirement savings. He's also taken out a $50,000 home equity loan against this house. All of this money has gone to support Jessica and Kevin's rental properties. The room erupted. Jessica lunged forward. "This is none of your business. How dare you?" "Sit down," I said quietly. The tone in my voice surprised even me. It was the voice I used in court, the one that made opposing counsel shut up and listen. Jessica sat. Mom was staring at Dad. "Bob, is this true?" Dad's face had gone red. "Nora, you had no right to—" "Answer her question. Is it true?" The silence stretched out like broken glass. "Yes," Dad finally said. "But you don't understand. They needed help. The market has been tough, and—" "The market has been excellent," I interrupted. "Property values in their area have increased 17% over the period we're discussing. Their properties are failing because they're poorly managed, illegally maintained, and were bad investments from the start." I turned to the next section of documents: building code violations, complaints from former tenants, records of unpaid property taxes. "Kevin, you've been operating rental properties with serious safety violations for over a year. You have documented mold issues, faulty electrical work, and in one case, a broken furnace that you left unrepaired through an entire winter. You've also failed to pay property taxes on 2 of your 3 remaining properties." Kevin's face was white. "Those tenants were lying. They just wanted to get out of their leases." "All 6 of them? Including the one who has photos and an inspection report from the county?" I pulled out another folder. "But here's the interesting part. While you were bleeding Mom and Dad's retirement fund dry, while you were failing to maintain safe living conditions for your tenants, you were also posting on social media about your success, about your wealth, about your family vacations." I pulled out printed copies of their Instagram posts: the Turks and Caicos trip, the new car they'd bought, used, but they'd cropped the photo to hide the model year, the designer handbag Jessica had posted about, a good fake, but still a fake. "You've been performing wealth while bankrupting our parents." "This is insane," Jessica hissed. "You're making us sound like criminals." "You are criminals." Marcus spoke up, his voice shaking. "What you've done to Mom and Dad, what you've been doing, it's theft. Maybe not legally, but—" "Actually," I interrupted, "it might be legally actionable." "Dad, did you tell Mom about the home equity loan?" Dad wouldn't meet Mom's eyes. "In the state of California, both spouses must consent to a home equity loan on a jointly owned property. If you forged Mom's signature or obtained that loan without her knowledge, that's fraud. If Jessica and Kevin knew the money was obtained fraudulently, they could be considered accessories." The room went dead silent. "Now," I continued, "I'm not here to send anyone to jail. I'm here to fix the situation. Here's what's going to happen." I pulled out another set of documents. "Kevin and Jessica, you're going to sell all 3 of your rental properties. Given the current market, you should be able to break even or come out slightly ahead if you sell quickly. Every penny of profit goes to repaying Mom and Dad." "You can't make us—" Kevin started. "I can't," I agreed. "But the county inspector I've been in contact with can make your life very difficult. And when your tenants find out about the violations, which they will because these records are public, you'll be facing lawsuits you can't afford." I let that sink in. Alternatively, you sell now, quietly, and use the money to make things right. You pay back every penny you've taken from our parents. You get regular jobs with steady paychecks. And you start acting like adults. Jessica was crying now, but they weren't sad tears. They were angry tears, furious tears. You're destroying us. You're destroying this family. No, I said softly. You already did that. On Thanksgiving morning, when you left me sleeping in Mom's house while you flew to the Caribbean on money that didn't belong to you. You destroyed this family when you decided that your pride was worth more than Mom and Dad's security. I'm just cleaning up the mess. I turned to my parents. Mom, Dad, I've set up a consultation with a financial planner, someone who specializes in retirement recovery. If Jessica and Kevin repay what they've taken, and if we manage the next few years carefully, you can still retire comfortably. But it requires honesty, complete honesty. No more secret loans, no more bailouts. Mom was crying now too, but these were different tears. She was looking at the documents in front of her, understanding for the first time how close they'd come to losing everything. And Dad, I continued, my voice softer now, I know you were trying to help. I know you thought you were being a good father, but you almost destroyed Mom's future to enable Jessica's fantasy. That's not love. That's not help. It's just destructive. Dad's shoulders sagged. He looked older than I'd ever seen him. There's one more thing, I said. I pulled out a final document. This is a loan agreement. I'm going to loan you $50,000 to pay off the home equity line immediately. You'll pay me back over 10 years at a very low interest rate. But there's a condition. Jessica and Kevin get nothing else. Not a dollar, not a cosign, nothing. If they want to build wealth, they do it like I did, by working for it. Why? Mom whispered. Why would you help us after everything? I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me, who'd loved me, who'd still chosen to leave me behind because my success made her uncomfortable. Because you're my parents, I said simply. Because I don't want you to suffer. And because, unlike some people in this family, I actually care about your future more than I care about my ego. The meeting ended shortly after that. Jessica and Kevin left without speaking to me. Marcus stayed behind and hugged me, whispering thank you into my shoulder. Mom and Dad sat at the table for a long time, holding hands, processing. Before I left, Mom caught my arm. Nora, she said, I'm so sorry about Thanksgiving, about making you feel like your success was something to be ashamed of. I think I was jealous. I think we all were. And that's a terrible thing for a mother to admit. But it's true. I wanted to tell her it was okay. I wanted to make it easy for her. But it wasn't okay. And I wasn't going to pretend it was. I need time, I said instead. I need time to figure out if I can trust this family again. If I can trust you again. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. We'll earn it back, however long it takes. That was 6 months ago. Jessica and Kevin sold their properties. They paid back every penny, though it took all their profit and then some. Kevin got a regular sales job at a car dealership. Jessica started working as a property manager for someone else's rentals, learning how to actually do the job she'd been pretending to do. They're rebuilding, slowly. We don't talk much. Maybe we will someday. Maybe we won't. Marcus moved out of the basement. He got a job in marketing at a tech startup. Nothing fancy, entry level, but it's honest work with a real paycheck. He calls me once a week now. We're building something that might become a real sibling relationship. Mom and Dad are working with the financial planner. Their retirement is back on track. Dad apologized 17 times before I finally told him to stop. Mom sends me texts now, little things, asking about my day, sharing recipes, trying. I'm letting them try. And me? I spent Thanksgiving this year in Hawaii, alone, by choice. I sat on a beach and watched the sunset and felt something I hadn't felt in years: peace. Not because I'd punished anyone, not because I'd won some victory, but because I'd stood up for myself. Because I'd refused to let them make me small to make themselves feel big. Because I'd set boundaries and enforced them and protected people who couldn't protect themselves. Because I'd learned that sometimes the highest form of love is refusing to enable destruction, even when destruction dresses itself up as family loyalty. The truth is, revenge isn't about making someone else hurt. It's about refusing to carry their dysfunction as your burden. It's about drawing a line and saying, this far, no further. It's about choosing your own peace over their comfort. Would I change what happened? Would I go back and wake up that Thanksgiving morning to find my family hadn't left me behind? Maybe. The little girl in me who still wants uncomplicated love says yes. But the woman I've become, the one who fought for her success and refused to be punished for it, the one who saved her parents' future and drew boundaries in permanent ink, she says no, because some lessons can only be learned in the cold silence of an empty house on Thanksgiving morning. Some truths can only be seen when the people who should love you most choose to leave you behind. And sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't making them hurt. It's refusing to let their choices make you small and building a life so authentically, yours, that their absence becomes a gift instead of a wound. My name is Nora, and this is how I learned that family isn't who shares your blood. It's who would never leave you sleeping while they chase luxury on borrowed money and stolen dignity. The rest is just people who happen to be there when you were born. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stop pretending that's enough.